How's it going, everybody? My name is Jack. I'm a professional pilot and a flight instructor, and in today's video I'm gonna just take you with me and we'll just do a little mini vlog of what a 4-day looks like in my life now as a full-time airline pilot. So let's get into it.
I'm Jack, a commercial pilot in CFI. Flying has always been a passion of mine, and I love being able to share that experience as a pilot and instructor for those who are curious about soaring through the sky. I hope you enjoy today's video, that you fasten your seatbelt, and that you enjoy the ride.
Part of the reason why I feel like I want to make this video is because when you transition from one thing to a next thing, it can be a lot on your plate at once if you're not used to it. And so this is kind of why I'm making this video, is to show you that it took me some time to transition, but with the right tools and with the right priorities, you can transition very well. And that's where I'll kind of show you what I've been doing the last couple months and where I've been with my flying career since. Made it on the airplane. Should be a good couple flights. Gonna get down to Houston, hang out for the night, and that's when I'll probably pick up the camera next. We'll get into some of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, so it should be fun.
Later that same evening.
Alright, well, it's currently 2 a.m. Central Time. We ended up sitting in Atlanta for almost 4 hours on the ground, and we beat out some thunderstorms, but made it here to Houston in for the night. And we're gonna wake up whenever we wake up tomorrow, because we have another late night ahead of us. So it was a pretty long day, I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely tired. I'm gonna get to bed, but I'm just kind of making this video because there were some things that I felt like I could talk about here in the respect of just 3 qualities that if you want to get in aviation, you definitely need to just consider right away. And the first just being flexibility. Doesn't matter if you're in the airlines or if you're in general aviation just trying to start out. You just have to have the flexibility with this field, because you have no idea what's going to happen. You could have a weather change, you could have a maintenance change, but more so now, the variables of other people that you have to depend on. That's also something that you're just going to be very flexible with. And that comes at a price too, with being away from home and not really being able to get food without having to pay a lot of money depending on where you're at in the airport. So you just kind of got to be the type of person that can adapt and be ready to just go and do what you need to do when you need to do it. So that's just kind of one of the first things that if you are considering to be a pilot and want to actually start to do this, you just got to take into account that from right away. As soon as you start as a student pilot, you got to have that flexible mindset, just be able to go and do it and be able to adapt as necessary. So that's the first thing. Now I'm gonna get some sleep. I'll film whenever I wake up in the morning, and we'll go from there.
Tomorrow.
Alright, it's the next morning. It's actually like noon, but I got up and went and grabbed breakfast, which was not free, but we got a discount, which was good. Then I went and did a quick workout. Did a little ab circuit and ran a mile, which was good. And then they had a hotel like hot tub / pool, which was fun. So that was the first time I actually ever got to use both the spa and the pool. So that was fun. But the second thing that I want to mention and make this kind of a big point about the video, and why I'm going to be talking about this a lot, is time management. Something that I think not many people talk about in GA, like with flight instructors, is being able to manage your time with what you want to do. When I was a CFI and I was telling people, if you want to get your stuff done, the biggest thing you have to do is really prioritize what you want to get done. And if that's your licenses, you want to get that done, make that your first priority, and I'm telling you, you'll get it done quick. I had a couple students of mine who did that, and we got them done in a month to 3 months. And I had people just put it on the back burner, and they were still my student after 1.5 years before I left for the airlines. So time management is very key at the beginning, but it's also very key once you get to the next level, because once you do get here, it's one of those things where you then base your time around your trips, and you can only do really a few things on these kind of short layovers here, where the biggest thing is sleep. We got in at like 2 a.m. last night, and we leave here at like 4 p.m. in a couple hours. So you do the math on that. That's pretty close to barely 14 hours of sleep
you could get at a maximum, which obviously I'm not going to sleep for that long. But when you think about it in retrospect, if you get like 10 hours of sleep, that means you only have 4 hours left to actually figure out what you want to do, to like eat, go to the gym, go hang out for a little bit. And some of these spots are really cool. So you really just kind of have to figure out what works for you in your time management wise, and what you want to put as a priority at the very beginning, because what then that will do is that'll actually set you up for success in the long run, where if you kind of build yourself like a little pyramid of what you want to do, and you just kind of stack it up for where your priorities stack on that whole scale that you build, that will allow you to then give yourself a parameter for every single thing you need to accomplish in the day. And that will stick with you for the rest of your career, both as a general aviation pilot, as a student pilot, flight instructor, survey pilot, commercial pilot, whatever you want to call it, to now being an airline pilot or a cargo pilot. It's all the same world, but you got to build those habits earlier rather than later, because those are going to stick with you no matter what the situation will be. And it takes a lot of initiative to actually try and do that. Like right now, you can kind of see here, I'll show you quickly. I got all this stuff kind of unpacked with snacks and everything, and I got stuff in the fridge over there that I'm gonna have to go through and make sure I can actually keep, because we're gonna be sitting in Denver for 3 hours, and I have a whole bunch of changes that I gotta make with planes and with flight crew. So I gotta do a whole bunch of planning around that once I get there. And then also I gotta think about getting food and figuring out where I'm gonna actually sit for a couple hours, because again, all that stuff isn't finalized yet. So you just kind of gotta be ready for whatever comes your way. But with the flexibility part of it, you're given a certain amount of time, and then that certain amount of time you got to figure out what your priority is and how you're going to manage it. So the biggest thing that I would say for this part of the video with what I'm talking about is just choose priorities. Just figure out what you want to do, and that's kind of where I'll walk you through my priorities next with this flight today. The time management hierarchy that I have kind of basically centers around this. First thing is sleep. Always get as much rest as I possibly can. Once that's out of the way, I got to work out, right? Hit the gym, do whatever I got to do there. I put eating third, and the only reason why I say that is I kind of pack that into the rest of the schedule that I have. Like with example, like flying or sitting down for a couple hours, those are kind of like in the middle of if I'm not doing anything. Eating kind of just falls there, because that's something that you can like just slam in the airplane with the flight. So that's one of those things where you can kind of pick and choose your battles of what you think you want to deprioritize, but that's for me. So today we already accomplished 2 of those things. We accomplished sleep, we accomplished gym. Next thing, we got to eat again. So I had breakfast. Lunch is going to be kind of hard because we really don't want to eat at the hotel with how expensive it is here. So I'm going to probably meal prep and eat the stuff that I had in the fridge. That I showed you guys earlier. And what we're going to do with that is, see if we want to heat it up. If not, we'll just microwave it. We'll see what happens if I want to eat it here or later. We'll figure that out in a few. And then obviously we go fly, right? That'll be fun. And then the 5th priority is figuring out what we're going to do in the 2.5 hours we get to Denver. And so we'll kind of talk about that as it goes on. But until then, I'm going to just kind of hang out, see what I need to eat, and we'll get right back to it for day 2. All right, it's been a few hours. I'm getting ready to go here. I got my Nuri protein drink. I forgot to drink that, left it in the fridge. So we got that going for us. And then I was going to heat this up, but I don't really have a lot of time. So I'm eating chicken. And I got my rice as well that we're going to just eat up a little bit, because I got to save some for tomorrow and then on Friday when we get out of here. So yeah, going to quickly eat and then we'll get on the road. It is currently 4 a.m. in the morning. I am home, which was not on the agenda. But long story short, we had a diversion that was a medical emergency that turned into a maintenance issue, which then had us swap airplanes and allowed us to sit on the ground for 4.5 hours in total, waiting and waiting and waiting. And long story short, I got deviated to then just to hang out here for a day at home. So sucks for all the stuff that happened, but that's just kind of what happens with the job.
but it kind of goes well with the video, surprisingly. So this was very funny. I'll break down kind of how this all makes sense and why it's important to just be ready for this stuff. So
The next day.
it's a little later in the day now. It's nice that I got to go home. That was like the only positive about this. Just sucks now, the situation I'm in, because I gotta now still go finish this trip. I was supposed to be in San Fran. That didn't happen. Was gonna maybe deadhead later that night. That didn't happen. We were just stuck with this medical emergency, and I felt bad. People get stranded in Dallas because they didn't want to go to Denver knowing they had other connections they can get out of Dallas. Feel bad. But those are the two things. The first is the flexibility. The second is, the time management. I think I threw my schedule out the window with everything else, knowing that I didn't have any time to sit or breathe. Just for the fact that we were so busy trying to get out of here and trying to figure out what we needed to do, that the last thing, and this is the part that I think is very much assumed with this industry, but something not talked enough about, is the endurance it takes to really go the distance with this job. And I only talk about this because this is by far one of the character traits that really makes you a pilot to being an actual great pilot. The people in this industry really show up in emergencies and in situations like that, what happened last night. And the hardest part about it is keeping your composure, or trying to figure out what the plan is when everything just keeps changing on you. It gets tough sometimes, but it also starts at the very bottom. You gotta have the composure to go the distance with your energy in every single flight lesson you do. You have to work for it. You have to grind to just get each license, but to also understand that if something happens, what are you gonna do? It kind of goes back to that, except now it's people managing and understanding that every single person has a cell phone and can pull it out whenever they want and record. And if that were to happen to you in that situation, you better hope that you are composed enough to where you can endure for a lot longer than you're supposed to be there. And endurance is something that's very, very underrated quality with being a pilot, because the longer you can withstand something means the longer you can actually go doing your job without blowing up or imploding and then looking like a fool or looking like someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So again, it takes a special person to be a pilot and to be in this industry, but it takes special character traits to do it well and to do the stuff that is really hard. And it was tough last night too, because I was talking to a bunch of the passengers, just trying to calm them down and trying to make sure that they knew what was going on, because I think our gate agents and the people who are in customer service don't get enough credit for what they do. It's definitely one of those jobs that is thankless and very hard, and I thank them every time I get to see them, because again, it's like you have no idea what's going through their mind or their head. So as a pilot and as someone who's done some of that before in different jobs, but now is just the bus driver or the plane driver, if you want to call it that, it takes a lot of extra kindness to go out of your way to talk to people and to actually let them know what's going on. It does. And you don't have to just sit there forever. You could just go up to people and see how they're doing and just check in on them in a situation where you're sitting on the ground for an hour. It means more to people for the flight crew to talk to them and to just keep them updated, in a sense that A, you're not telling them everything because you don't need to tell them everything, but B, you're telling them enough that they can stay informed, because you may not even know everything. Half the stuff that we didn't even know yesterday was going through different company channels, so we were still kind of left in the blue. I have no idea what was happening, but I could do my job enough to where I could tell them, hey, we were going to get them home, and that was all that mattered. And we did. We got them home a little later than expected, but we did it. And now I gotta get some rest here to go to Vegas and finish this trip. So that's my plan right now, and I'm debating about taking this because I've already dragged it on enough about this certain vlog, but I might as well just bring it in my bag. If you're lucky enough to be home, yet you still have to go work, I would still pack everything. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pack an extra pair of clothes. I'm gonna pack my laptop. I'm gonna pack as if I'm going home to Cleveland, where I'm based. Except I'm just not gonna go back home there. I'm just gonna come back here if I can, but I don't know what's gonna happen. So who knows? We'll see. But that's the whole goal with today. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect every single flight I would have to have a different scenario, but that's just what's happened so far.
So I wish I could get into more details about it, but social media policies won't let me. So I'm not even going to touch that stuff. So again, it's all the same stuff, just at different levels. And the airline industry is very similar to general aviation. You just have different situations and different circumstances. So depending on what happens next, I'll pick up the camera and I'll go from there. But yeah, plan right now, get to Vegas tonight, fly Vegas all night to Cleveland, get there early in the morning, and then literally just come home. Literally just come right back here. So we'll see what happens. Well, I got back a few days ago, and I was gonna film, but as soon as I got home, I kid you not, I crashed. I got home at like 3, and my Apple Watch says I went to bed at like 3:25, and then I woke up the next day at like 9 a.m. So the amount of time I was up was the amount of time I needed to get some sleep, I guess. So kind of a hectic night, but it kind of just goes back to all those 3 things that I said before, in the sense of all those qualities that you needed. But yeah, it was just one of those days where you just kind of got to know what you're signing up for when you sign up for it at the very beginning, and it's part of the job. Love it or hate it, that's just what happens. So I'm glad it all worked out. But the last thing that I really wanted to emphasize is on my commute home, right? We have to commute in uniform sometimes. These 2 people sitting next to me in the aisle, they had never flown on an airplane before. Well, one of them had, and the other's only flown a couple times. But it really put my mind into perspective of how we as pilots just assume that everyone's flown before. You know how we've always just done it, until you ask the question with the passenger sitting next to you about how if it's their like first time flying or whatever, and when they say yes, it kind of just blew my mind a little bit. But it was also really cool because being a pilot, right, in aviation, you want to really help and you really want to encourage and be enthusiastic for people in this industry. That's really what got me into it. And it was cool being able to sit next to that person's first flight in my pilot uniform, because having a pilot of the airplane that they were on was really special, I think, for him to be able to have the insider knowledge that I had of just explaining everything of what was going on from the flight, from touchdown to takeoff, and doing all the stuff in between, being able to explain all these things. And it was really fun being able to commute back here because they had never been to Colorado. So it was really fun to be able to strike up a conversation about what you should look for, what you should do tourist-wise. So again, it was really fun. But it just goes to show that you don't want to take anyone for granted in their situation. The last real point I'll emphasize, and this isn't really a point, it's just kind of summary, is these 3 character traits are important, because you don't know if you're taking someone to their funeral, or to their friend's funeral, or to their wedding, or to some sort of friend event that they had seen people a long time, or to a tragic event to go see family. You have no idea where people are coming from and going from. And in aviation, it's one of those things where it hurts if you're selfish, and if you want to, in our industry, time out, or go to a hotel and call in fatigue, when 200 people are sitting in the back needing that flight to go home, or needing that flight to go to this funeral or to this wedding that they've been looking forward to. Otherwise, they'd miss it. And it's just kind of one of those things that puts you into perspective of you have no idea where people's circumstances are coming from. And being selfless in this industry is going to go a long way than being selfish as a pilot. So what I want to just kind of leave this video at is, it's a hard thing. There's a lot of different things that go into this industry, starting at the GA level and moving up. But the whole point of this vlog is not to show you how cool it is to fly or how to do this job. It's kind of the opposite. It's to just give you an insider look at, hey, this is what it takes, And as a student pilot myself, when I was learning to fly 5 years ago, I sit back and look at those moments and think, wow, it really did pave the way for what was going to come in life later on. And all those little moments that I had of just pushing through it, just trying to get done, trying to just make it all happen, was really worth it in the end to get to the spot that I am in now. So just kind of as a summary, don't quit, don't stop, but make sure you're doing it for the right purpose, because it will test you and this industry will push you whether you want to be pushed or not. You just got to buckle up and be ready for it. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's little vlog, and most importantly, just the reasons why I do this and why you should too, if you want to actually become a pilot, specifically in the airlines or in corporate aviation. If you did enjoy, I'd appreciate it if you went down and liked and subscribed to this video. This is something that I do just for fun on the side, and I hope you enjoy these videos. So if you do, I'd love for you to stick around. If you did also enjoy, I post on my Instagram and my other stuff on my website every now and then too, whenever the job isn't keeping me busy. But other than that, that's about it I have for today's mini video. I'm going to take my time off and just chill before I have to go back for another 20 days in my base, which kind of sucks, but that's life. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.